Hello and a very warm welcome to you. This is another very exciting and very interesting, informative, educative episode of your #1 legal talk show, The Courthouse. It's all about the law, and it's our law class 101, as I like to call it. It's Olomu-Agbodo. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
From Lagos
to London, from Johannesburg
for several years, our economy
to the United States,
identifying houses of worship.
We have all the world covered for you, no matter where you are.
Love with News is at the heart of it all.
I have experience.
We bring you our perspectives of stories behind the story.
The signs given to us for the entry of these things are before us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us on this station.
You're welcome back. If you just joined us, this is The Courthouse, and this week we're talking about debt recovery. Yes, everybody loves to have their money back if their money is lent out, or if you carry out a contract, you generally want your money back. But some people generally don't like to pay. So how do you recover your debt? Quite interesting. That's what we're talking about this week. And I'm joined, as usual, by a seasoned legal practitioner based in Nigeria. He is Samuel Akpologun. Okay, so you're welcome to the courthouse.
Thank you very much. It's nice being here.
Okay, so we hear about debt recovery, and is there really a legal process for recovering debts?
Yes, there are legal processes for recovering debts. You see, debts occur in various business transactions and everyday activities, and then recovery of same has led to a lot of issues. However, there are legally spelled out ways by which you can recover your debt and not go against the law and not be on the wrong side of the law, and also the society is not jeopardized. There are various legal ways, and one of the ways is the main way actually is to resort to court. Now, many people don't want to hear that because generally court proceedings are slow, and business terrain would not allow for sluggishness. Business thrive when monies are paid as and when due. And now in a situation, especially in Lagos, for example, where you have more than 60% of all the cases in Nigeria in Lagos, the courts seem to be slow. It is such that people believe that you can be in court for many years. An average land case may take about 3 to 4 to 5 years in court. But what happens to financial relationship when money has been expended and money and then it has been financial relationship has resulted into a bad debt which has not been paid? How do you approach it? How do you recover this debt in such a way that you recover them within record time? Is it wiser or easier to resort to self-help, or is it better to go to court? Now, like I said, there are legal ways for resulting and for recovering your debt. The government and then the lawmakers are also not unaware that monies have to be paid or recovered as fast as possible. So there have been some steps available or some procedure that have been made to ensure that debt recovery through the court is not as onerous or as difficult as we think they are. Actually, there are debts you can recover through the court within 2-3 months or 5 months.
That's interesting. So tell us about that, because that's music to my ears right now.
Actually, one of the ways to recover debt, especially if the debt is quantifiable, that is to say, there is no dispute as to how much is owed, we call that liquidated money demand. There is a process called liquidated money demand by which you could actually recover your debt with speed. And then these processes are available in the regular court and in a specialized court. There's a specialized court now in Lagos State called the Small Claims Court. Okay. Now, the Small Claims Court is designated by virtue of the authority donated to the Chief Justice of Lagos State. Some courts were designated pursuant to the provision of Section 274 of the Constitution and Section 90 of the Magistrate Court Act 2009. Small claims court were designated such that these courts can hear expeditiously small claims. What we mean by small claims are claims that range between, that are below 5 million. So if
below 5 million.
If what you're claiming is 5 million and below, 5 million and below that,
you can go to the
small claims court, and then with minimal hassle, you get your money. In fact, the small claim court is designed to run. That is, if you institute a claim in small claims court, it is supposed to you are supposed to get judgment within 6 months maximum. Within 6 months, and the small claim court is such that adjournment should be every other day. The highest adjournment I've seen in small claims court is every week. Okay. Cases are adjourned weekly. So you don't go to court today and then you are told to come next month. You're coming back next week if it is such that they couldn't finish today. It is also enable people to engage themselves, and many times the table of discussion is what is missing between the debtor and the creditor. But the small claim court bring you together and help you to make very instructive decisions and pay your debt. If then the debtor is not ready to pay the debt within the window available for discussion, the court comes in with its big hammer and ensure that the claimant, if his claims are clearly stated, gets his money within a record time. Even if you're going to appeal is will take a maximum of 3 months. So it is something that is done such that business does not suffer. Now, apart from the small claim court, the question becomes, what if my claim is more than 5 million? There is also something similar to the small claim court called the liquidated money demand, or the summary court procedure, even in the High Court. It's almost like the small claim court proceedings. So when you follow that procedure, the court will not go through the whole hustle of the normal court procedure, such that in record time also you should be able to get your money. And then if the money is quite bigger than usual, for example, if it's above 100 million naira, or the dollar equivalent, or any other currency equivalent, there is something called a fast track.
Okay.
Yes, in the Lagos State High Court.
The High Court in Lagos State.
In the Lagos State.
Okay.
So
fast track.
Once your claim qualifies for fast track, it is designated to a special court for fast track, and it is fast track. That's the word. It is such that you are able to recover that money within record time. It's also like small claim court. The proceedings, the adjournment, don't go beyond a week. It's within, in fact, it's supposed to be within day-to-day adjournment. Once we get to hearing, it is adjourned from day to day, so that within 3 months, the judgment is supposed to be delivered, and within 2 weeks, the money is supposed to be recovered. Enforcement. Now, this is not the only way to recover your money. There is another procedure. If your debtor is a company, in fact, the Company and Allied Matters Act provides that a company that is not unwilling to pay its debt, that's up to about 2,000 naira, is liable to be liquidated. So if a company is owing you, you could commence a procedure for liquidation. And no company wants to be liquidated. Liquidation means to be sent out of business.
Sent out of business, wind up
the company, and then sell off its assets and pay its creditors. Its creditors. So these are many times, and I've used this procedure many times, and when we commence such proceedings, we have people talking up and trying to meet us for payment. There have been instances where, because generally before you can evoke any of this procedure, you must make a demand. Generally, you to approach your lawyer, and your lawyer will write a letter of demand to the individual or to the company. We write a letter of demand stating clearly our claims and clearly what we want to be done. We give a period of about 7 days or 14 days within which the company or the individual has to pay our client. And then once that is given, the company many times advise themselves. They have a legal team, and then the legal team look into it and see to it that this letter is coming from a credible law firm, and then they have no option but to speak to the management, giving them helping them to understand the implication of letting the debt to linger. Many times we end up coming to the roundtable for discussion. To my mind, many times discussion is the best way out. But the issue is creditors many times don't have the leverage or are not able to create that roundtable wherein reasonable discussions can be made. But when seasoned legal practitioners are involved, we're able to force the debtors into a discussion session, and we are going to the discussion session not from a position of weakness, but from a position of strength that forces the debtor to talk more reasonably. And after that, if then they are recalcitrant, we may then approach the court, and then within a short time, we get the debts paid.
Quite interesting. That it's actually very interesting that there are various very, very legal ways that you can recover your money, and the law does not want your business to suffer. So don't resort to self-help yet. Try and get a lawyer to explain this procedure to you. And we're so grateful to Samuel Akpologun here, who has talked about that the first thing you should do is to have a letter of demand. A letter of demand giving the debtor a period of time within which to comply to pay up, and after that, there are specialized courts that can hear your matter very, very speedily. So don't go and resort to self-help yet. We have a report on debt recovery, and we have some legal nuggets for you. Stay tuned.
Before you bring a proceeding to the court for debt recovery, there are certain questions that you must ask yourself. 1. Should the legal debt recovery process be pursued? 2. How do you initiate the debt recovery process? 3. If there is no satisfactory response to the demand for payment, what is the next step? And 4. What is the procedure in the relevant court to obtain judgment against the debtor? Before taking any legal action to recover your debts, you should write to the debtor setting out your position. If the debtor has cash flow problems, you may consider offering an installment payment plan as a short-term measure. The debtor may have a genuine complaint against your goods or services, which you should seek to resolve before taking action to recover the unpaid amount. A letter before action informs the debtor that court proceedings will be commenced if the debt is not paid within a specified time. The civil procedure rules place an obligation on a creditor to send such a letter prior to issuing proceedings. You may be penalized in cost if you do not comply with these rules. If payment is not received, proceedings are issued in a court of competent jurisdiction. Judgment can be obtained in one of two ways, either on an uncontested basis or a contested basis. In uncontested cases, the court will also award scale costs against the debtor, which are very low. In a contested case, it is up to the trial judge to decide whether to award costs. However, in civil proceedings of this type, costs normally follow if a creditor successfully obtains judgment. Interest as per the terms of the contract entered into between the parties can be claimed in the proceedings themselves.
You're welcome back. If you just joined us, this is the courthouse, and this week we've been talking about debt recovery. How do you recover your debts? How do you recover your money legally without resorting to self-help, without taking the laws into your hand? And we're joined by Samuel Akpologun, who's been talking about the legal ways, and he also mentioned some specialized courts in Lagos State, Southwest Nigeria, where you can speedily get judgments and get your money back. So now you talked about liquidated money demands, and you talked about the fast track courts, you talked about the small claims courts and things like that. But a lot of times, is it that people are not aware that there are legal means of getting their debts instead of taking laws into their hand? Like I mentioned earlier, resorting to self-help, going to break down the debtor's property, or just seizing anything they like.
Yes. Well, there are many persons that are not aware. The truth is that the problem of the masses is the problem of ignorance. Many people are not aware that there are lawful ways by which they can get the monies.
Or do they think it's too expensive?
And some others feel that it's too expensive, and some others believe that generally whatever you involve a lawyer, you're going to spend money on the lawyer, and you're going to have that procedure difficult to go through. Sometimes it takes time. And I think one of the major things that people are scared of is the time. And so they resort to using the police and using the military. But none of those other self-help procedure pay. In fact, many times you may get yourself into trouble resulting to those self-help. I've had some people, recently someone came to meet me, and we're supposed to actually even file a case just last week. The person was battered and then arrested by the police simply because it was said that he owed some amount of money. And then the police actually is not a debt collector.
Yeah.
The police is totally not supposed to be involved in it, and in any situation where the police involve themselves in debt recovery, the police is liable to be sued for various infraction of the law. Many times they take the law into their hands, even to the extent of infringing on the fundamental rights of people. In the process of recovering debt, they falsely imprison people, they arrest people, and force them to pay some money. Such errant police officer is looking for trouble. And then when it comes, it may be difficult for him and his instigator to escape the long hands of the law.
So at the end of the day, instead of recovering your money, you end up being in trouble.
You're in trouble. You multiply problems for yourself, especially if you have someone who knows what to do. In fact, if debt is recovered through any of these unlawful means, the creditor may end up paying more than the debt that was owed him. So generally, it is totally wrong for one to resort to self-help. Although there are instances where you see someone just go in to recover property, I'm not trying to say that it is not possible. You could recover property if the debt is a secured debt. That is to say, the property was used as a collateral for the debt. And there are ways to do that. You don't just go and pick the property. If the grantor of the property, that is the person that gave the collateral, agrees that you should go ahead and take the property, fine. But if the person is insisting on not following the procedure, then there is a way to approach the court also to get the order to attach the property or to get the property sold and then the money recovered. So there are various procedures. The law has made clear ways for recovering our debt. There is absolutely no need for resorting to self-help.
So quite interesting, because a lot of times people use the military, they use the police. So now you've heard it, it's not lawful, it's not legal for you to involve the police in your debt recovery process. It's not right, actually, because you may end up in more trouble than just the debt that you wanted to recover. At the end of the day, you may even end up losing the money you're supposed to recover or spending more. So someone like Akpologun, is there any other area that you want to let us know about this topic, this issue of debt recovery, apart from not involving the police, specialized courts that you've mentioned, in other climes, in other parts of Nigeria as well? Do we have this specialized courts, or is it just in Lagos? And is there anywhere in our laws where there's any stipulated mode for recovery?
Well, yes. What is in Lagos as in the old law or the Order 11 It's also, I mean, the old High Court Civil Procedure rules. It's also, there's a new High Court Civil Procedure rule, and it's still there. But in other states, apart from Lagos State, there are other procedures similar to this Lagos State procedure. Now, in other climes, it's even easier because there are not much cases in their docket as we have in Lagos. In fact, in matters wherein jurisdiction is not limited to Nigeria, I mean to Lagos State, for example, matrimonial proceedings, where the jurisdiction of the court is nationwide, or the High Court is nationwide, people try to go to other jurisdictions or other states. For example, people take matrimonial cases from Lagos to Ogun State because it's faster there. So if Lagos State is able to achieve the speed that I've just discussed, I use Lagos State as a case study because it's supposed to be the most difficult terrain for getting your cases in court resolved. So if it could be so fast in Lagos, it can be faster in other climes. So there is this, what I'm talking about now, we call it liquidated money demand. It applies nationwide. Every High Court Civil Procedure rules provide for these particular strategy, especially in the High Court, to get your money back. Even in the Magistrate Court of most states, it is provided. Though not all states have created a small claim court, not because they don't know to create it, but they don't have a need for it. Okay. The reason is because the cases there are fast enough. At least I've practiced in various states. I've practiced in Anambra State, I've practiced in Edo State, and I'm now practicing in Lagos State. And I've have a taste of how those jurisdictions operate, and I find out that it's quite easy in other states to get your monies paid than in Lagos State. So that is the reason why Lagos State had to be innovative and creative to make sure that they step up the speed of recovering your money. So it's quite possible.
That's quite interesting. So you feel that the law in terms of debt recovery is clear enough, it's okay for now. There's no need for reform.
It's okay for now. I don't think there is any. There are various. Now I had to simplify as much as possible because we have audience that want to understand what we're talking about. There are various other modes of debt recovery, and there are various other things that may be involved in debt recovery, which we may not be able to go into now. The issue of debt recovery is what led to the creation of AMCON, that's Asset Management Corporation. Yeah. So these are wider, they are more specialized issues with respect to debt recovery, which time will not allow us to go into now.
Okay, but AMCON is it not just for government and
for
seizure of assets?
Assets, bad debts,
for
especially banks. Yes, whose debts became bad debts. So the commission actually buy up the assets of the debt and then manage it. It's the management of both the debt and the assets.
Okay, you've been mentioning bad debts. What makes a debt bad?
Yes, what makes a debt? Naturally, business thrive on various things, and business presupposes the possibility of debt. What I mean by debt is that many times it is not the time or the day that you supply a service that the money is paid. If I supplied a service or good today, it may be understandable that in the next 1 month I'll pay it. Now we all have that in our mind. That's a debt. Within that 1 month, it's still a good debt. It's not a bad debt. If within that 1 month I pay you, it's a good debt. We'll shake our hands and we'll say it's nice doing business with you. But if after 1 month you refuse to pay your debt, or I refuse to pay my debt, then after a while becoming clear that it's difficult to recover that debt, or it's looking impossible. There are some debts that become almost impossible to recover. For example, there was a company we tried to recover debt from. Our clients already concluded that it was bad debt. Why? Because the company was almost going down. The reason why the company went down, or the reason why the debt became a bad debt, was because of dollar rates that changed. It's like I supplied something to you when the dollar was 198, and then you're supposed to sell, and you're supposed to pay back after about 3 months, and then
suddenly the dollar becomes 300.
Yes, after you've sold at maybe 200 naira to $1, and when you're about to pay in dollars, dollar is now about 360. Are you getting me?
Yes.
So while I'm expecting higher money in higher value, you are seeing it as if you're being cheated, and then at that point, many times even the gain has been swallowed up in that dollar exchange rate. So these led to a lot of financial crises, and so these companies had such, because they traded in hard currencies. So it led to a lot of situations of such similar circumstances. And so recovering that money, paying back that money became difficult, because even if the company got the money from their end users, they couldn't pay their suppliers, because what they got is less than what they were going to use to pay the suppliers. And at that, it was difficult to get the money. The suppliers too could not get the money. It was becoming a bad debt, because even if this company were to pay, they would have to be liquidated to pay.
Okay.
So a bad debt is a debt that is seemingly, in a layman's language, that looks like what cannot or may not be paid. So at the end of the day, we have to force them to pay it one way or the other.
So a bad debt is like bye-bye to your money.
Bye-bye to your money, basically. So,
okay, quite interesting.
So yeah, getting it paid, getting around that puzzle is what the lawyers work. It's where the lawyers work become very prominent. Okay. How do we bring both people to the table and expect them to overcome that situation of bad debt?
Okay, quite interesting. Very, very, very interesting. So we have another segment. You've been here before, and it's the Bar Book. We share Latin maxims, we share legal jargons, equitable remedies or principles, and their meanings. So we want one from you this week.
There's one that I love so much. It's Ubigis ibi remedium.
Okay.
That is, where there is a right, there is a remedy. Yes.
Okay.
When there is
Okay. Now, before we talked about recovery of funds, recovery of money, and debt recovery, let me stick with Uberima Fide. And Uberima Fide is utmost good faith. So basically, when you enter into transactions with people, when you enter into contracts with people, try as much as possible to act in good faith. He who comes to equity must actually come with clean hands. So try as much as possible to act in good faith. You get to find out more Latin maxims in our Bar Book segment. Don't go away. Okay, you're welcome back. But at this time, we must say a very big thank you to Samuel Akpologun. I got it this time.
Yes, you got it this time.
Thank you for making our time to be in the courthouse this week.
The pleasure is mine.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
And we actually appreciate your wealth of knowledge, your insight into debt recovery. It was very, very, very interesting. So thank you once more.
You're welcome.
Well, so that's the much we can take this week on the courthouse. If you have comments for us or you want updates on our stations or any of our programs, you can go to our website on www.lovoplus.tv. We also like you to download our app on any of the mobile app stores. It's Lovo Plus. We have numbers that will be showing on your screen now. You can send your comments or questions to those numbers shown on your screen and to our email at info@lovoplus.org. I am Itohan Olomu-Agbodo, and from me, I say, don't just get mad, go get a lawyer. First, always get a lawyer. Bye for now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for making our time. Thank you.